Here we go. Get this started here. So welcome everyone to the Startup Grind Boston Fireside Chat today. Excited to host Alec Stern, America's startup success expert, one of the original co-founders of Constant Contact. I'm going to share an intro video before we get started in a second here as well. Just wanted to give a quick introduction to Startup Grind and what we do here. So this really started as a meetup group out in Silicon Valley. The co-founder or the founder of Startup Grind just wanted to host founders, experts, investors, and really learn from all of their stories, what's worked well, what hasn't worked well, and the lessons we can apply to our own businesses. And since then, it's expanded over the last 11 years into 500 chapters worldwide. Pretty large. There were several thousand people at the Startup Grind conferences, both in Silicon Valley and Europe conference. There's a Latin America conference now as well, and amazing group of directors that come together and all support each other across the globe. Our local chapter is sponsored by Brex, the corporate credit card for startups, and ShipQuid, which is a resource to help you find your ideal customer profile and make sure your whole team is on the same page. And with that, you can check out all of our other partners and resources, all geared to help the startup community at startupgrind.com/Boston. Definitely introduce yourselves in the chat. Feel free to share your LinkedIn or a little bit about your startup company as we get going. We're also going to use that for any questions you have as we get started for Alec, and I can help moderate the questions there. And then we'll save some time to come up and ask directly at the end of the chat. And with that, I'm going to play a quick introductory video and we can get started. Is the audio coming through?
This gentleman right here is one of the most amazing people you've ever met. Please make sure that you give him some love. Alec Stern right here.
We walk around all day long seeing services and stuff out there and saying, that could be done better.
And what are you going to do in your business to delight your customers or create a wow moment?
And I just had the pleasure of listening to Alec Stern on stage, and my mind is absolutely blown.
Now, Alec is amazing because he has helped transform my business.
Go out as early as you can. Don't be in stealth mode and keep the secret. You want to get out there, share the idea, and get feedback. When you achieve something, like you just had an amazing call with a potential investor, pick up the phone and call another one. Don't start celebrating.
Wow.
And then go call another one, because the energy that you're feeling from that moment is going to be heard right through the phone or when you go see them face to face. Right? Do it.
Awesome. Yeah, with that, Alec, love to have you up to the stage here. That was a great introduction, and would love to hear quick intro from yourself as well before we get started with the fireside chat format.
Yeah, so thank you, Jason, for having me here today. Look forward to spending some time with everyone. Glad to see all the faces here on Zoom. Quick intro. I'm a serial entrepreneur who likes cereal. So people's first question is always, what cereal is it this week? So it's honey bunches of oats with almonds. And I dress it up with a little almond milk. So I'm co-founder of a founding team of 8 companies with 5 exits, 2 IPOs. connections, and just really have kind of just embrace the ecosystem in Boston in many ways. Investor, speaker, mentor, advisor, and certainly founder. So.
Yeah, great to have you here. Excited for the chat. So what was it, or I guess, where did the entrepreneurship journey start? Always like to ask, was it just the opportunities you saw that led you into this, or were you always sort of in the entrepreneurial mindset and spirit, like growing up?
Yeah, so it actually began around 8 years old. We were provided for as a family, but if we wanted something special or kind of had to go out and raise your own money. So I mastered setting up businesses in the neighborhood for cutting lawns, shoveling snow, detailing cars, just a handyman, helping all the neighbors. So and then I hired on a bunch of other kids in the neighborhood to work for me. So I was managed them, cutting the lawns and shoveling the snow. I got the entrepreneurial spirit from my mom, who was a small business owner, and and it just that stayed with me. Went to big business initially out of college, and then from there I was someone that was pretty senior in the company that I was involved with said, "Hey, I'm going to a startup. Can't guarantee you salary in 6 months or whether we're even going to be here in 6 months, but I'd love for you to come along." So I waited about 3 months and I said, I'm going to do it. So I joined the company in 5 years to the day we went public. And then we went on and sold the company, and that wasn't Constant Contact. That was a different company. And once I got I had this piece of paper of options. I'm like, this is worth what? So it didn't hit me until we went public that I said, okay, how am I doing this again? And just stayed in, kept going earlier and earlier in startups from there. So.
Yeah. So what was it? You've had experiences on both sides. What was it like shifting from the startup space and being a part of the earlier stage companies that got you really excited to continue and now go be part of 5 successful ventures here?
Yeah. So there are a lot of things that are fairly repeatable. Kind of the title of the talk, Pillars for Achieving Startup Success. There are a lot of things that are repeatable, and I just found that after doing it once and then went on and did a second time, and having several different exits, I did see that there were some patterns that formed, and so for me, I didn't want to go work for a big company again. I wanted to go earlier and earlier in starting, and I mean today I'm a co-founder of 6 different companies. So I'm an idea guy, and I work with teams. I don't do things. The African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go with others. So I'm always working with a team, and so just have ideas, and we're bringing things to market and testing those for a variety of different spaces. But I guess I'm entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs. In my I guess in my DNA. So
sounds good. Yeah, so we were talking a little bit before we started the chat about the early days and where Constant Contact got started at your table in Brookline. So yeah, would love to hear a little bit about the formation story and sort of how that came to be.
Yeah, so actually it was my co-founder's attic in Brookline, and I had a dining table in Back Bay that we would use for our meetings because no one went to the attic. Was not suitable for visits, but so it was just, there were 3 of us when we began, 2 folks on the technical side and myself, and really we set sort of the original premise was that we wanted to level the playing field for small businesses against big box competitors. At the time, Amazon and others had enterprise tools, they had resources, they had agencies, and the small business on Main Street had nothing. And so we set out to create an easy to use self-service tool and eventually suite of tools to help those small businesses. So all they had to worry about what they wanted to say, when they wanted to send it, and who they wanted to send it to, and everything else was taken care of for them.
Amazing, yeah. Now I'm sure a lot of us have used it, and now it's one of the top. One of the top platforms for that. So I guess yeah, at some point, or yeah, diving into some of the pillars here, like, is there a, one of the first pillars you want to share that came from your experiences, building up constant contact?
Yeah. And I don't want to focus on constant contact because I have done 8 companies up to this point and with many exits. So it's
Sure.
really, the concepts really apply to any company. And when I go out and I speak and I talk to small businesses and entrepreneurs, in the last year and a half, I've spoken to over 1 million people virtually. And so there's a lot of commonality, but one of the first things is, when we're starting a business, we're really excited and wide-eyed to want to do a lot of things for our target market. So you establish who your target market is, and then you find all these things. You're like, well, we can do this and we can do that. And I call that the bicycle wheel syndrome. So if you had a bicycle wheel and every spoke on the wheel was another idea for how you're going to help your target market, when we started Constant Contact and many other companies, we could fill every spoke on a wheel with all the ideas that we had. And so the key thing is what's the one core thing you're going to do first? Have success with that, because if you get something out there and you have success with it, you're going to get feedback, you're going to get case studies and success stories, you're going to get customers, you're going to be able to get hopefully some revenue. And so, all of that will give you the validation of what you're doing to then pour gas on and want to do more with it. So if you have that one thing and you have success with it and you get the flywheel of the business going, then you can look at other spokes. And so if you were on a highway and you had the lane of a highway, what lane are you in with that one core thing, or the bullseye on a dartboard? And then once you've had success with that, then you say, what's the adjacent lanes? Or what are those other spokes that are next to it that are with a little bit of tweaking here or there? You might have 85% of what you need and minor tweaking, maybe even just in messaging to do something else, maybe to another part of the target market or another vertical or with other partnerships and so on. So it's just really important. And sort of the first pillar is really setting your guardrails and kind of staying in your lane and identifying and succeeding at that one core thing.
Yeah, I really like that. All entrepreneurs tend to have so many ideas. We're bouncing off and trying to figure out, where to focus, what to do first, what to do next. So yeah, when you think about that scenario, how do you know, I guess, yeah, what's your process for figuring out like how long you should be testing out one idea, or if you should be switching to the next one, or just stay focused until you figure it out?
Yeah, so that's a great follow-on. So when you think about that one core idea, I'll ask folks, what testing have you done with the idea, and how have you gotten proof points to validate your idea? And oftentimes they'll say things like, well, I used to be my target market, so I know, right? Or they'll say, well, we're in stealth. I'm putting this in quotes. We're in stealth mode, so we don't want to go out and share the idea. We don't want anyone to steal our idea. And so those are points of failure, because you have to get out as early as possible, even before you have a product. Like a lot of people really worry about, well, we got to build a mobile app, or we got to finish our website, or we got to really tweak our messaging. You don't. You have to get out to who your target market is as early as possible, and really just lead with value. Ask them questions. What's your vision? For the business, where do you see yourself in 3 years? Are you on a path today to achieve that vision? And oftentimes, I'd say 50% of the time they say no. So what they're doing today is not going to get them there anyway. So you got to make a change your vision or change what you're doing, right? And so I'll ask them things like, what is it that you have today that you love and that you want more of, and what don't you have that you wish you had? Do you want to be saving money? Do you want to save time? Do you want to increase revenue? What are the things that you're looking for, for success in the business? So they're going to give you a roadmap of the things they're looking for. And then you can play back at that point when they say, well, what are you up to? And what are you doing? And say, well, we're creating, an offering to help, folks like yourself with X, Y, and Z. Would that be of interest to you? If we could save you time, save you money, increase revenue, let you stay at top of mind with your customers, engage with your customers, would that be of interest to you? They'll say yes. And then you're sort of walking them down a path to eventually get to the question of, is this something you would pay for? And if you've positioned this well for them in small bite-sized pieces, then the answer is always going to be, yes, I would pay for it. So now you know you're onto something, and you need to do that early. And every single company that I've started, before we even had a product, we didn't even, in some cases, didn't even have, a prototype. We might have had a couple PowerPoint slides. Maybe it's drawn out on a napkin, whatever it is. We're going to go out and we're going to talk to them and get their feedback as early as possible and as often as possible. Feedback's a gift. And the last thing I would say on this is that we tend to want to go to family. If I went to my mom and I said, hey, Mom, I'm starting a new company, it's going to do this, that, and that. She's like, oh, I'm so proud of you. It's going to be such a huge success, right? I just got the chills. You get that every time. That feels good. You want to do that to feel good. It's not going to help you grow the business. So you don't want to go to people you know or people you've done business with before. You want to go to strangers to get brutal, honest feedback. And so the key thing there is to go to those people that you don't know. And if you can convince them that what you're doing is something that they would, one, want to use, and two, pay for, you're onto something.
Yeah, no, I really like that model. Getting feedback as early as often as possible, and not going to the people are just gonna say yes to you, and trying to get the right feedback from the right people there. So yeah, follow up question to that too. If it's not going as planned, where's the point where you figure out, am I talking to the wrong people for the right product, or am I talking to, is it the audience that's a mismatch with our product, or is it the product that's wrong for the audience I'm trying to help?
Yeah, I'm going to just append to that. It's probably how you're delivering the message. We often haven't gotten down the elevator pitch and the short sort of way to present our idea. I like to call it spray and pray. We often will I'm going to keep talking and I'm going to pray you heard something that interests you. And that doesn't fly. And we often get nervous and we're going to just keep going and wait till they sort of open their eyes or get wide-eyed or wake up from falling asleep because you've talked too long. Usually it's our delivery. And so oftentimes I'll just, want to ask somebody, is this a good time for us to talk? Or would you maybe want to set up another time if it's more convenient or better for you? No, this is good. So you want to get the validation of them ready to receive, right? And so as I said earlier, the first thing is you're going to ask them a bunch of questions, and you need to be listening to what they're saying. So listening is the key thing there, because we're always thinking about, well, what am I going to say in response? And maybe I should start with this, or no, last time I talked about this first, and that was better. And you're in your head saying all this. You're not hearing what they're saying. If you take the word listen and you move the letters around, it spells silent. So you need to be silent and present, listening to what they're saying, because they're going to give you sort of a cue to what would interest them and what you're doing. And so you want to be able to present that, and present it in a way that would be of interest to them. And so if you're not getting like you believe your target market is, say it's Main Street small businesses, and you're going to those folks who you don't know and presenting this, and it's not resonating, feedback's a gift. I would ask them, what is it about what I said that didn't resonate with you? Was it how I said it? Was it, was just not a good time to hear it? Did you not receive it in a way that I thought you would hear it this way? Oftentimes they'll give you the feedback. So you'll understand that you may be onto something. You may be onto something with them as your target market, but you just didn't succeed at presenting it to them or really showing them the value of this. Starting with a why. We always want to go to the how and the what. Simon Sinek's Start With Why is one of my favorite books. I reread it all the time. And so starting with the why, like what's the benefit to them for using this product or that service? Not how fast is it or how much it'll save them, or the features and the benefits. And so I think, that's usually where there's a miss. But you might find that there's a misalignment between what you're offering, how much you're charging for it, and what they're willing to use and have the capacity to use, and what they're willing to pay for it. And sometimes, it's just, maybe there's an adjustment. Because if we go around all the people that are on this call and ask define small business, we're going to get 50 different answers or 100 different answers from everyone here. And so the bottom line is we don't really know. We have to have that alignment. We don't always know if what we're saying, like, oh, we work with small business, but you really mean medium, which means it's a different sort of approach than, or even a larger business, where people will define that differently by revenue, number of customers, geography, number of employees, however they may measure it. So there has to be a real strong alignment, between your offering, price, and your target market.
So in some of your, ventures that have now been, successful companies, what were some of those points early on where you knew, like, all right, we have this validation, we're really onto something here, and what was it you were looking for or excited about that you were hearing from these early interviews or customers that said, let's take action and really build this out?
In all cases, it was convincing them that we're onto something and get them to take the product. If someone's willing to take your product even early on, and I'll tell you, in several instances, it had bugs, it broke, we had to, fall on our laurels and say, look, sorry, like we'll fix that bug. But if they become passionate, they get wide-eyed about what you're doing, they love it. And of course, it really upsets them if it goes down or breaks or is not, delivered as sort of guaranteed. You're definitely onto something. And so I think that, just getting it out there and getting it in their hands and just hopefully have them be patient around this because it is so early. But if it's someone you don't know, it's a total stranger that has taken your offering and they're willing to sort of accept that it has bugs, it has problems, then you're onto something because they're willing to stick it out with you. And you don't need a lot of validation. I was talking to a startup this morning who was like, well, once we get 100 beta customers, then we're going to bring it out to market. I'm like, 100? I mean, I've gotten 2, I've gotten 4, maybe 6. Like, you don't need a lot of that, in terms of that proof point, right? You want to be able to, get it in the hands of those and then turns those into folks that you can get quotes from, get a success story or case study, because they're the ones that will lead you to bigger opportunities for to get to other prospects like them. So for anything that I've done, it's just really that's the validation. The last thing I would say on this is you're going to get a lot of no's, right? So don't be defeated by a no. Since I was a kid, to me, a no meant not now. So I would go to my mom on a hot summer day, can I have an ice cream? And she's like, no. I'm like, but mom, she's like, no, you're going to ruin your appetite. Just give me all the reasons why I couldn't have an ice cream. So I'd do a couple of chores and I'd help her on a project. I'm like, Mom, can I have an ice cream? She's like, take 2. You've been so great today. So I knew how to take a no and make it a yes. So today in business, same thing, like being able to take that no and convert it to a yes. So I don't hear no, I hear not now. And so when someone says no, I'll qualify why the no. And then ask, can we stay in touch? Can I give you updates of what we're doing? And eventually over time, they see the value, maybe didn't see it initially, but they see the value. And then that turns into a yes, and they become a partner, they become an investor, they become a mentor, they become a customer. So we often will want to take our bat and ball and go home when we get these no's, because it's, all of a sudden we're sort of like, we're defeated, right? We get stuck on that and look at it as an obstacle versus an opportunity.
I love that approach, and yeah, the perspective there of turning, no is not now, and you can turn those into yeses. So what are, some of the other pillars you think about when you look for this repeatable model for startup success here?
Yeah. So one of the key things, especially the early days of a startup, is I'll ask. So how are you going to scale this? What's the scale? Where's the scale in your business? And I will tell you that most can't answer the question. And if they do answer the question, oftentimes it's something like, well, if we hire 100 salespeople, we'll be able to, blow this up. So we just got to get funding to hire 100 people, and we can, really start to see some scale success. And so I always challenge everyone to talk about channels, and partnerships, collaborations, and how to work with other people where your target market's hanging out. And so the channel strategy has been the answer for scale success in every business I've started. So I just want to be really clear. In the case of Constant Contact as well, we were 100% channels when we started. We had four, we ended up, I went out and got 4 customers. And so we had our case studies, and we were able to point to those success stories. And then we found the channels of all sizes of where our target market was hanging out. And if we partnered and teamed with those folks, then we got to our target market through these intermediaries. So it's one-to-many scenarios versus, say, one-to-one. We couldn't, me, myself, and I couldn't go down Main Street around the world trying to close small businesses for a free trial and it's starting price points of $15, $20 a month. That just doesn't fly. So we had to find a way to get the leverage of a channel to get access to our target market. And so 100% channels when we started, and it, maintained a big, it was a strategy that was important to the business to grow, and it stayed that way, and it has stayed that way. When we sold the company, we went public at year 10, and then 8 years later, we sold for 1.1 billion. We had over 8,000 partners. So they were still in the mix, but we also did our own marketing, and half of our business was, I don't like to use the word viral anymore, especially since this pandemic kicked in. So we'll talk about them as referrals versus viral. So we had over half our business was referral business, so half the people came to us because they saw someone else, like, I want what they have, or someone else told them about us. And our average customer told 2 to 3 other people that signed up. So lifetime value of our customer was huge because for a couple of reasons. And this is another pillar. I'll just sort of weave into this because it ties into it. Surprise and delight your customers. Create a wow moment. Like, what are you doing to delight your customer? We found several different ways that from out of the gate to delight our customers. So if you opened up a free trial, within 48 hours, we called you to welcome you. Hi, I'm a marketing coach, and I'd like to just welcome you to the Constant Contact family or the other company's family. And, how can we make this a successful experience for you? And they're sitting there blown away. Like, last night at 1 a.m, I opened up this trial. You're calling me today, and you're here to help me, and you're not looking for anything. Like, you're not asking me for money, or you just want to make sure this is successful. This is crazy. So we tried, we didn't do that initially, but we add that into the mix. But we try to surprise and delight the customer. And I ask everyone, what are you doing to surprise and delight your customer? Create that wow moment. What is that special thing that you're doing to set yourself apart? And it doesn't take a lot. And sometimes it doesn't take money. It's an experience, or it's just a check-in, or it's calling them. We often leave our customers behind because we're like, we got to go get new prospects. So they're good. They're in the fold. But you don't know if they're like, I call it the happy path. Are they on the happy path with you? Are they staying on that happy path? And if you leave them alone, they're going to start to fade off and eventually fade away. But your best prospect is your current customer, because their sphere of influence of telling others, this company's amazing. Look at the stuff they've done for me. And they're driving people to you who sign up, again, as part of that referral network. And so surprising and delighting your customers leads to a lot of opportunity. But the most important thing is one of your core values need to be delight the customer. That should be number one. Like, we often don't think about that. Like, oh, they're already in the fold. They're good. But you got to always find ways to surprise and delight them.
Right. Yeah. Without your customers, there's no business here. Right. No, and I like that story too. You shared of like being the one tech company that gives you a call on your free trial without anything you're looking for. And coming up with other ways to surprise your customers there. And yeah, question on one of the other pieces you mentioned too, the channel partnership strategy. So when you were looking for organizations and other companies to partner with, or, be your source to new customers, how did you pick and choose like which companies to partner with and which ones you would avoid?
So it's a great question. So I'll wrap a couple things into that. So the first thing is that I'll challenge everyone on this call that all of you have at least 15 partner categories that you could be collaborating and working with to get to your target market. So there's at least 15 categories. I will tell you at the Constant Contact, we ended up with over probably 200 categories, but I'm not gonna put that on anyone today. But I'm gonna say, I'm challenging you that there's 15. And I'll give you one that everyone on this call shares. That's association and member organizations, right? So everyone is working on something where there's a local, national, local, regional, national, networking oriented, education oriented associations and member orgs that are gathering. Your target market's getting together all the time for those things. And how can you work with them to bring forward, not necessarily sell. It's really, promote and thought leadership and best practices and bring the education to them. So that you're going to help them succeed. So that association and organization would love to have you in the mix if you're going to help their members succeed. And if they brought you to that member, it only adds more value to the association. And when they sit there and say, why are we paying this membership fee? They're like, well, they're bringing us all this value add. They brought us, this company or that company or this extra thing over here, or they have the most incredible speakers at their conference. I mean, there was a conference room at Constant Contact for me, and one whole wall were all the lanyards of all the talks I did on all the national conferences in every vertical. And so I would just go out and so they're like, no vendors. We never allow any vendors to speak. And I hear I'm laughing like I'm up there, as representing obviously Constant Contact, but we didn't talk about, we're not selling, we weren't promoting buy. We were educating and providing thought leadership and best practices. So we're all here doing something unique and different. And we just need to package that up and tell that story, because then that opens up the door for press and for interviews and for speaking. And because they're like, we want, you can help our members succeed. And guess what? Their members are the target market you're after. So you can get up in front of thousands of people and speak at one of these national conferences, some international conferences, and everyone in that audience is a prospective. Many probably become customers, but we're prospective customers. And so when you're first going out to talk to these partners, I just want to back it up and just say that oftentimes we'll be hesitant. We're going to be a little nervous. We're afraid to, they're big, we're small, we're new. We only have 4 customers. Like, they're not going to listen to us. Well, you know what? Those conversations take a while. The bigger the partner, the longer the conversation. So it could take a year to partner, maybe a year and a half. Sometimes they take time. So you don't want to wait on the conversation and do this linearly where all of a sudden you get down the road, you start the conversation. Well, now add a year to it, right? You start the conversation now. So in the case of Constant Contact, the example, we had those 4 customers that I signed up initially. So when going to a partner, one of the first things they ask is, do you have any references? I'm like, I'll give you 3. And then they come back and say, do you have any more references? I'll give you 1 more. No one asked for a 5th. Don't tweet that. So the bottom line is you work with what you have, right? We had 4, I gave them 4, they were happy. They saw how the value to what we were doing to those customers, those small business customers. And so you wanna make sure that you're putting your best foot forward there. The last thing I would say is that 2 things I want to say. The first one is that, we're so used to getting on these Zooms and just chit-chatting or going into a meeting and chit-chatting. Professionalize what you're doing, right? I call this another pillar. Look big, act big, become big, right? Perception. You want to look big, right? So if you're going to go to a conference, we couldn't afford in several of these companies to pay for a booth and pay to be a sponsor, pay for anything. But we could be able to walk the floor in the free exhibit hall. But we put branded shirts on and we had branded pens and people are like, wow, you guys are big, huh? And I just remember this one conference, there were 4 of us. We're all dressed, in our, swag and whatever, and all branded. And so somebody said, you guys are big. I said, yeah, in fact, we doubled this week. Well, we added 4 interns. We had 4 of us and we added 4 interns. We doubled, and so we were laughing. We walked away laughing like we doubled in size. But so you work with what you have. And again, it's perception. So what you want to do is you want to create, like a five slides overview: who we are, what we do, what makes us unique, what our customers are saying, and how we might work together, partner, or for an investment or a customer or whatever. So who we are, what we do, what makes us unique, what our customers are saying, and how we might work together. And so you'll brand that, use your colors, you use your logo, and then you get on a Zoom or you get on a call or you go see them and say, well, I just created a short little slide deck to frame the conversation. Would you mind if I kick off the call with that? They're like, no, go for it. Now you own the call and you're putting your best foot forward, right? And so then when you're done with the call, you can save a PDF version, send it to them so they can refer to it before they speak to someone else or share it. Then there's a team call because they all want to get on and talk to you and say, well, I know we share this deck, and just to level the playing field for level set here, can I kick off the call showing you those the slides that we had created? And everyone says yes. So you own that call. And so you're putting your best foot forward to look big, right? Act big. And they don't have to know it's the first time you're calling a partner. So I always ask, show of hands, how many of you have that one person you want to call that would be strategic to your business, a partner, an investor, a mentor, a customer, whatever it may be? How many have that one person, but you're hesitant? Every hand goes up. And as we're seeing here with all the hands going up. So the bottom line is that you can't be hesitant, because if you're hesitant, they're going to feel your energy. So you're going to get on the Zoom and you might not be smiling. You're going to maybe be kind of withdrawn a bit. If you're on a phone call, the energy going through the phone, they're going to not feel any energy. So you got to get yourself fired up to make that call or do that Zoom or go see them. And so what does it take to get you fired up? So you could do, meditate, do yoga, go for a walk or a run. I see Emily on there. I threw the run in for you. Run a marathon. And so you want to, find what it is, pet a dog, hold a baby, call a loved one, whatever it is gets you fired up. For me, it's sing to my favorite song. And it's usually gets queued up at conferences and they make me sing it, which is Don't Stop Believing by Journey. And so I get the chills singing that, and get fired up.
Good choice.
And then I make a call, and what do you do when you have a successful call? What's the next thing you do? Everyone yells out, celebrate. No, make another call. Because you have this energy, right? Use it. I just got the chills. Use it. Call someone else. Have another successful call. Have several. And at the end of the day, celebrate.
And never stop believing.
That's right.
No, I really like that. And yeah, actually wanted to tie in an audience question from Beyond here as well about how you found your first few customers. I know you mentioned, you had 4 and then were able to use those to develop a partner strategy and, leverage the references there. But, what made those first 4 people willing to jump on board, early on without any references, and how did you find them?
So as I mentioned earlier, it's like going to complete strangers for brutal, honest feedback. So you have a conversation, and if you can convince them to take an early, alpha version or beta version of your offering, you're onto something. Because most people would say, come back when it's done. Come back when you have all your customers, and I don't want to be an early adopter. But it didn't take much. I mean, going out and actually doing, leading with value and talking to them and understanding their business and what they're looking for, what they want more of, and then being able to, show them how we could help them with that. And then they saw the value of what we were doing early, even though in several instances, different companies where it would break or we'd have an issue, or they're like, well, this is good, but I really wish it had this feature or that feature. So in every instance, and including several that I'm now a co-founder of, it was just going out and talking to people and having a frank discussion, and just usually it leads with we're interested. We'd be happy to take the product and give you some feedback, and then see how it helps our business. and then moving several to paid. We'll give it to you, the value of what we're giving you. If, we're going to give it to you for 6 months free, and it has a value of, $2,000, and plus we're going to handhold and help you with the best practices, or, and they're like, we're in, we'll do it.
And then, so once you get, and you've, been a part of these companies, co-founding them and joining them at every stage. So, what are some of the differences or like approaches you have to take once it grows to become, a pretty large business, and now you're managing people that are managing all the tasks of the business? So do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, so I got a couple of things I'd say on that. So the first thing is, when you're starting early on, it's your original sort of team or group. There needs, this is back to sort of core values and culture. So there needs to be, everyone has to be title agnostic. Doesn't matter what your title is. I've had so many people join on, well, I want to be a co-founder, and I want to be a COO, and I want a C in the beginning. I want a chief in the beginning of my title, whatever it is. By the way, I want my next title to be EIEIO. I'm going to put that on a card.
Sounds good.
So, but yeah, so you start in the business, and it really is a function of what, what lane are you in? Where's your strengths? And you want to stay in your lane. The opportunity cost certainly in the earlier stages of someone doing something that's not in their lane. So, we need to build a website. Well, I'll learn the website tool and I'll go and build it. It's going to, take me 10 or 20 hours, let's say. And if my time's worth $100 an hour, that's $2,000 invested. But if I'm not taking those 20 hours and doing what I'm really good at, there's a double cost there, because I'm doing something I'm not good at, probably not going to nail it in the first, it's not going to be great. It's not going to, get done in 20 hours. So costing me all this time and effort, but I'm not doing what I'm good at. And so you think about, okay, well, even in the earliest days, can I hire a fractional, web developer, an intern, a VA, or something to help me, do the website, who could probably do it in 10 hours, and it would be amazing, and not have to go through several iterations, and probably cost a lot less than $2,000, while you're focusing again on what's staying in your lane. So title agnostic, the willingness to bring someone in above you, below you, or next to you. Like I've had, so many people say, I wish, I don't want anyone to come between us. I don't want to be reporting to anyone else. I don't want this. I don't want that. You in order for a business to scale, you have to bring in, maybe it's adult supervision. Maybe it's experts in a certain area to take over to do several of the tasks that are not in your lane. And so I've always been of that school, and every business I've been in, we've all agreed that, like, bring in who we need to bring in, wherever they fall in the if it come in to be CEO, come in to be president, come in to be whatever, if that's what's best for the business, we all agree to let it happen. And so many businesses will fail because there's 3 co-founders, and they're all equal co-founders. And I'd say, who's running the business at the end of the day? We all are. That doesn't fly. Like, one person has to be, in charge, that if you're going to take external investment, they're going to want to see on their forehead, that they're in charge of this business. And so companies have failed just simply because they're, not staying in their own lane, or they're not willing to bring other folks in, or, just want to hold on to it. And so the success and scale for me, while it's been a channel strategy on the business side, bringing in the resources that make sense to grow the business, the best of breed, and staying in your lane has been the answer. So I didn't stay in a leading role in several of them as time went on, to bring in the right people for what was needed to go to that next level. So always contributing in many different areas and finding pockets of opportunity. And I've always just been of the school to do what I'm good at and do more of it, and let others come in and help.
Oh, that's great advice. Setting those expectations, the company culture early on, and, if things need to change or somebody else needs to take the lead, bringing them in at the right time there. I also want to open it up to the audience now as well. If anybody wants to unmic, feel free to jump in, and we can bring you up to ask a question here as well. Donna.
Hi, Alec. Hi, Jason. I am CEO of Media Mash, and we have MVP, and I'm having a hard time getting beta clients. Anything that you could suggest that would facilitate that process, where we're willing to like cut our rates, but we really need validation of product market fit. I want to get those case studies, just everything you said. You know, our go-to-market, I want to make sure our target market's correct. I have a marketing background, so that's all really important. But I'm having a hard time for people to pull the trigger.
And and you could say that you know the dartboard bullseye of who your target market is?
We fit in a lot of areas. We're focusing on tech startups. We're a video platform, so we need companies that are really invested in video and have a lot of video and have more of a complicated product, do webinars, live streams, things like that.
Okay, and so, and then I mean, you can go into your network first, or you can go, I don't know kind of what your go-to-market strategy is, but, for me, it was just, just calling on those small businesses, right? I found ones that were in areas I was interested in. So I had a connection with them to say, know my interest at the time, like Nat Sherman cigars. I used to smoke cigars, and that was my favorite cigar. So I called them the company, and they became one of our first customers because I was able to talk to them about, I love your cigars and the Connecticut wrapper and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And they put us over to their web development team, and they were like, yeah, we'll test it. And which turned into a partner who then brought it to many other customers. Right. But
Right.
It just went to folks that I could have a conversation with about what they're doing and my love for it, or that I was wasn't a customer at the time directly, if you will.
Right.
But now, just calling on them. So I don't know if you've had a chance to just go to ones where there's some affinity with you or the team or whoever's calling on them.
I just thought of like calling Pet Plan because I have dogs. So yeah, so that's interesting. I'll try that.
So, and I went to sendwine.com, I hadn't used them, but then I did I talked to them, and I did a few orders, and I called them and complimented on the service, and that it was just so easy to order. I gave them some feedback, and so, I had 4 like it where they all said, yeah, we'll definitely, we'd love to try the offering. And then of course, once they tried it, they loved it,
Right.
and then that just sort of got that flywheel going.
Cool. I'm going to try that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate the question, and yeah, great advice there. And gonna bring up Pion to ask the next question here as well.
Thank you so much for hosting, Jason, and thanks, Alec, for sharing and for answering my question earlier. So my startup focused on helping people increase success by developing skills like communication and emotional intelligence. Like I'm kind of experimenting with either selling to individual consumers or businesses like employers, team leader for developing the teams. I'm wondering like whether you have thoughts on how businesses decide whether they will kind of focus on consumers or like employers or team leaders. And then as you talk to those potential customers, do you start the conversation saying, we have this product, we want to hear your feedback, or you more direct, like, we have this product, would you like to try and potentially buy? Thank you.
So would the 2 examples you gave, consumer and team leaders, are they not all consumers, like users of the service?
They could be, although sometimes team leaders, I assume some of them are like, they're pretty good in leadership skills and communication skills, so they might not need like more learning, but their team members might need more. So they could be though. Some of the like startup CEOs and head of product marketing, they would come actually find my website and then wanted to try.
Yeah. So I think about that. To me, sounds like a channel within, right? So if you go to team leaders to then ultimately get it to the employees, ultimately it's people signing on to use it, but you're doing it through a channel partner being a company and the team lead. So going into the HR department of organizational development or areas where they're bringing in new ideas and things to bring forward to roll out to the employees, and maybe test it with a team leader to the employees below. There may be a channel strategy to go to your target market through others. There's also a lot of HR-oriented businesses, like, especially for startups, where they have the PEO, outsourced HR, and they offer all kinds of services to the companies that sign on for their employees. So maybe there's some of the admin-staff, and there's all kinds of different ones, Insperity and Ministaff, United Healthcare, like a bunch that have a bunch of HR related things that they bring, which could be another channel to go to them to talk about something to roll out to the employees of their customers. So I would test your way into looking at channel partners to talk through to see if you can get a one-to-many scenario of selling that through. But I wouldn't stop on also testing your way into getting the actual consumer, the actual employee, the consumer themselves to sign on. That's a bottom-up approach. And if you get someone and you find out where they work and say, hey, do you think you could get me an intro into your company? You're using it, you love it. Maybe we could talk to the company about having others use it, and just leverage anyone that does sign up.
Thank you. And do you like follow-up questions? Like, do you go to people and say, like, here's my product, please like try it, or just like, I want to hear your feedback or something like that?
Yeah, so it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, if it's truly like anyone on the earlier stages, the goal is to get them to use it and talk about their experience, and then to be able to give you feedback, and then ultimately, for maybe improvement of the product and offering, but also to then become a success story, a case study, a quote, and so you could offer that up and potentially not necessarily charge them the standard. You might offer them something for signing on, either a discounted rate, or maybe it's you give them give it to them for some short amount of time, and then to convert it over. If it's an ongoing use tool or service they're going to use, then you can charge them maybe a bit later and put a value on what you're offering them. We're going to give you $500 worth of value to let you use this in exchange for getting your feedback. And so you may need to trade that off. In some cases, if it's not really expensive, and then they see the value in it, they're willing to pay for it right away. Yeah. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, great question and feedback, and yeah, excited to have you come back here and share the success of those beta customers at one of our future startup grant events.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And does anybody have any final audience questions for Alec here?
Hey, Alec, this is John. I appreciate you sharing with us here today. I'm curious, either in your experience or someone you've seen, potential failings that you've had and then you really learned and found value afterwards along the way. Be great to just understand something either from your own experience or that you've seen people struggle with and then have to learn from.
Yeah, so if I could, I'll just back that up just a tad and say that we all face obstacles, and sometimes obstacles can also be considered as failures, if you haven't succeeded at getting through it. And I would just say that we have to, when you're starting a business, you're going to run into some obstacles, and some people get stuck by them. Like the way I used to handle them, I would walk in and I'd write on the top of a piece of paper the obstacle. I'd put a little box next to it and hope I checked it by the end of the day. And you ignore it all day, and it's there the next day, and it just seems to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It weighs on you, kind of get stuck a little bit. And so, you have to understand you're not the first person to face that obstacle. So go seek counsel and go find people that have knocked that down before, failed at knocking it down, broke it into smaller pieces and broke it down. And seeking that counsel will get you creating the muscle memory needed to be able to knock down the obstacles, because behind that obstacle is a bigger one. And if you're getting stuck on the one before it, guess what? You're going to get even more stuck on the one after it, and the one after that, and the one after that. And so if you create that muscle memory to knock those down, then you're not going to sort of get stuck and plateau where you are. It's going to free you up to go further. So I've had many of obstacles hit. How are we going to make payroll? How are we going to, we've hired these people, and we can't tell them we can't pay them in a week. And so I deal with everything with humor, and so I'll laugh at that and find what do you mean we can't make payroll? How funny is that? And we'll just laugh, get the endorphins going, to then be able to actually then, get the energy we need to figure out the solution to knock it down. But I mean, you hear all the adages, fail fast, fail forward. The bottom line is failure. You learn from failure, and sometimes you don't, and you fail again from it. But eventually, you're going to take those learnings and find ways to turn those in the obstacles, into opportunity and knocking them down. So we've all had them, and I see the ones who get stuck and they want to take their bat and ball and go home because they can't solve the obstacle, haven't figured out the muscle memory to actually knock those down. And you have to do that, and you have to do it quickly, because they just keep getting bigger. And then it's just my attitude now is bring it. What's next? Just bring it. We'll knock it down because we got to keep going.
Identify that obstacle and figure out the solution around it, either from someone who's done it or yourself.
Yeah, seek counsel. The minute an obstacle hits, I'm going through my mind saying, who can I call? And have you had this? Oh yeah, boy, did I have that. And I failed miserably at solving it. Or yeah, this is how I did it. Or someone advised me to break it down into smaller pieces, and this is how we knocked it down. And so, we don't, we don't have to go it alone. We often feel like we're like out on an island, like, especially with family and friends and everyone, they don't get an entrepreneur and they don't get what you're doing. And they're like, what do you mean you can't make the family brunch Sunday, that you have to work? Like, this is crazy. It's a weekend. Like, you'll have we all have all of those experiences, but there are others, we're in our own community, and we've all will help each other. And so just, have your sort of circle of folks, your mentors, your advisors, those you can call to break through.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I think, that's the importance of a startup community, and, having other people around you that understand the struggles and the successes that come out of it. And we can all learn from each other here. So really appreciate the question and the feedback there as well.
That was a startup grind plug there. Under the covers, you're all here for a reason and can be helping each other through this community.
Exactly. Yeah. And for everybody, I think we've all learned a lot from you tonight, Alec. And for everybody that wants to, continue learning from you or follow on with your story, what's the best way to do that?
I can put it in the chat, but just probably go to my website. It's got ways to connect, learn more, and then all my social channel links are there. And but it's Alec Speaks, ALEC.com. That's perfect place to go.
Sounds good. And for everybody that jumped in here tonight, really appreciate all the great questions, and all of you coming out and supporting here. So we're gonna be posting some more events on the startupgrind.com/Boston site as well. We also have a link to our partners and resources there, and anything we can help with, feel free to reach out in your own startup or somebody you're looking to connect with. Chances are there's probably somebody else in the community, whether it's us or one of our community members we can introduce you to, that can help. So just put our link to our site there. Definitely check out Alex as well, and let us know if how we can help in the future. We're here to give back, and really appreciate all of you guys joining us. And Alec, thanks again for the amazing talk tonight.
My pleasure. And thank you everyone for all the great questions and spending time.
Appreciate it.